Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl Podcast, a 3-time award-winning show that aims to motivate and inspire you while increasing the amount of female role models in the media, especially in relation to adventure and physical challenges. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. If you're passionate about adventure, challenge and learning from women who have overcome obstacles and achieved remarkable things, then this is the podcast for you. Every Tuesday at 7 a.m, new episodes go live featuring incredible women who share their stories, insights and tips to help you achieve your dreams and goals. You can support the Tough Girl mission by signing up as a patron. Visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. Keep listening until the very end as I share more information about what's going on with me with Tough Girl Challenges, give shout outs and recommend other Tough Girl Podcast episodes. More information can be found at toughgirlchallenges.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Boon, also known as Stephie. I'm based in Truro in Cornwall, near the Southwest Coast Path, where I spend a lot of time hiking. I'm a lowland leader, so I lead women occasionally on a voluntary basis. I have a blog called 10 Mile Hike that is an inspiring and practical resource for anyone that wants to get into hiking in the UK, wherever you are, whether you're a beginner or a seasoned hiker. I hope that people will find lots of inspiration to get outside and enjoy the natural environment around the UK. I also share honest articles about how nature, being outside, hiking, backpacking has helped with my mental health because I suffer from long periods of depression, and I've had that since I was first treated when I was 23 and I'm now 60. So I'm also thinking about how I can inspire other people to actually, who are of a similar age, to get outside and get hiking.
Did you grow up in that neck of the woods? Are you from Cornwall?
No, not at all. I grew up in London, North London, and I moved here to go to art school when I just turned 19, and I've been here ever since. So I've been here about 41 years, and I always say I feel like I was born in completely the wrong place because Cornwall is definitely home.
I think because I just associate you with like hiking and like the outdoors and almost like the countryside and fresh air, that I really struggle to think of you as sort of growing up in London, like North London, like being like a North London girl.
Yeah, I completely understand that because I don't feel, I look back and I think, how, who? But we are talking 40 plus years ago, and I lived sort of on the edge. It would probably just be within the M25. I was probably 9 miles maybe from the city centre, and I spent most of my time outside playing in the mud, falling in brooks, swinging across streams and things on rope swings, just being immersed in nature, really, even though I also had access to other things that I loved, which was art galleries, really, at the time. And as I say, I then moved to Cornwall to come to art school, and yeah, walking became a much bigger part of my life. I think I did my first backpacking trip. I was still at school, and that was with school friends. I think it was about 16 or 17, and we went to the South Downs and did youth hosteling. We did sort of youth hosteling for a few days, and that really got me feeling that sort of desire to, you don't just have to sit and kind of play in the mud. You can actually walk and explore and just really enjoy being out in more wild landscapes. They certainly appeared wild to me at the time, whether they actually were very wild. But as a youngster, when you're growing up in sort of suburbia, really, it felt going to the South Downs felt this massive open landscape and views of the sea from higher up, and I just felt, this is home, really. This is what I should be doing, just being outside and enjoying life outside.
When did you get into like solo hiking? What was the story there?
When I was young, I had this thought in my head that not everybody is going to want to do what you want to do. So you can either sit there and wait around for something that might never happen, or you can just go ahead and do it. And that meant doing it on your own. So when I was young, I was quite used to just doing things on my own. Then when I was at art school, I was in a relationship which lasted 22, 23 years, something like that. So we did everything together. But then when that ended, I got in that same headspace again. Well, you love wild camping, you love hiking. Are you going to sit around and wait for somebody else, or are you just going to go and do it? And I just went and did it. The first time I did it, I think was probably 18 years ago. And because I'd been camping, doing a bit of hiking with my partner at the time, I had a sleeping bag and a sleeping mat. And that was it, really. I couldn't carry the sort of 3.5 kilo tent that I had, or that we had between us. So I just decided that I'd go somewhere close to home so that I could get back to my car easily if I needed to. And I went up a local sort of hill which overlooked the coast near St Agnes. And I slept literally just in my sleeping bag on this mat, went to sleep watching a really beautiful starry sky. I remember it being quite cold and having a comfortable but sort of restless night's sleep, which I think you always do, even when you're experienced. The first night that you go out is, you don't know what to expect, what's going to happen. So sleep is a bit more restless than perhaps it would be a few nights into a backpacking trip or whatever. And when I woke up, it was just the most beautiful sky. I always think it was like looking, when you drop a fruit tea bag into a cup of boiling water and you get those swirling kind of colours in this watery, so it's just beautiful skies with those wonderful watery pinks and oranges, and just waking up to that, even though I was absolutely soaked through with condensation. I just thought, this is it. I've found my thing. I don't need to be with anybody else. Maybe I need a bivy bag or something, but yeah, the experience of just being alone and able to switch off and just be in nature, just watch and listen to the things around me without any of that background hum of life, the usual stresses and difficulties that everybody has. It was just a way of really being aware of yourself and your own emotions without any distractions and just being completely part of something bigger, I think.
You've actually shared a lot of your hikes through your website, 10milehike.com.
Yeah.
And I'd love you to share a little bit more about creating the website, starting to share more about your hikes and why you named it 10 Mile Hike.
I named it 10 Mile Hike just because I thought the name sounded... I named it 10 Mile Hike because I thought the name sounded fun, because it's memorable. And I'm into long distance hiking, and I think 10 mile hikes are actually the shortest distance that I would consider a decent walk or a decent hike in the environment that I live in. I share, hopefully, candid guides that are particularly helpful to women, because I have found hiking so beneficial for my often fragile mental health. And I have found going out alone is the best way for me to create some sort of equilibrium in my life. And I think other people might benefit from that. But people, particularly women, are often very anxious about going alone. But it is possible, and I want to show that it is possible, but that it's more than possible, that it's life-affirming, that you don't have to have loads of money to do it, you don't have to have loads of experience. I want other people, particularly women, to have that freedom, to have that confidence to go out and to enjoy themselves in their own way, without the pressure or the feeling that you have to please somebody else, you have to fit in with other people's ideas of what a hike should be, whether they want to cover 20 or 25 miles a day, and maybe you only want to do 10 miles a day. I'd like people to be able to find what makes them tick, whether that's pushing themselves out of their comfort zones, whether that's staying firmly within their comfort zones. Because I think even we don't know what people's struggles are. And if going out and going on a backpacking trip and you're most comfortable with staying at a campsite, well, then that's absolutely great and it's perfectly valid. And I think that there's appears to me to be a lot of culture around you're not a real hiker unless you're out in the wilds doing the Cape Wrath Trail, or that you've not seen anybody for 3 weeks. But that's just one way of doing it. There are lots of ways of doing it, and whether you're taking a big leap of faith and you're just going all in and doing something well out of your comfort zone immediately, or whether you're taking baby steps, it's all valid, and it all adds to our experience of life. It all increases our resilience, and I think that that's really important. And I think it's important that with the difficulties that I've had, I think it's important to show people that you can do it too.
So let's talk about turning 60. Congratulations, 60 years young. It's a privilege to get older. But how was that for you, and why did you decide on the West Highland Way as the challenge?
I don't have a lot of money at all available to do these hikes. And the West Highland Way has been a bucket list hike for a long time. It looks exciting. It's a very different mountainous environment from the environments that I've been hiking in mostly in recent years, which is in the south of England. I just wanted to be immersed in that landscape. And it seemed fitting to celebrate a 60th birthday by doing a bucket list hike. So I was very fortunate to be able to do it. I wanted to celebrate my 60th with my son, and he'd never been on a backpacking trip before. I'm obviously quite experienced, and I was looking forward to enjoying the landscape. He is at uni doing a photography course, so he was excited to join me. And it was the most incredible, amazing experience that I'll never forget, but it didn't come without stresses. But turning 60 has been terrifying, honestly. For 3 years, maybe, it's been on my mind. Every morning I'd wake up thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be 60. What does this mean? I had a friend who died last year, and she was just turned 60. So that focuses your mind. One of her mantras in the last year of her life was, don't waste a day and enjoy every moment. So I've been carrying that around in my head, don't waste a day. But when you reach certain milestones, I mean, I've never had people have crises when they're turning 30, 40, 50. I never had any of that. That was just absolutely fine. But 60 seems like, oh my God, what if I've only got 20 years? What if I've only got 10 years of good health? This is assuming, nothing untoward happens in the meantime. And it really focuses your mind on what is actually important to you. What do you want to do? There's no time for faffing about anymore. It can be difficult to pin down what you want to do, but it can also highlight what you want to do, what you've been saying in your mind that you've wanted to do for the last 20 years and it hasn't happened. So how are you going to ensure that it does happen within the next 20 years? And this all sounds very bleak and very negative. And it's not. It was just a state of blind panic, really. Just being a rabbit in the headlights and thinking, I'm stuck. I've been stuck for years. How do I unstick myself so that life is as affirming, as amazing as it can be? And kicking that off was doing a bucket list hike. And so far, things have been amazing, absolutely amazing. And I don't know what I was worried about turning 60. Although I have to admit, I still wake up in the mornings thinking, okay, you haven't made any plans yet, proper plans. Like you say, you need to book things in, schedule them, because then you're committed. And it's making that commitment to yourself, to what you believe in, that's really important. And that's my next step, is just committing not to just what I want to do for the end of this year or next year. It's making plans for 5 years ahead, where I want to be. Do I want to actually do this Appalachian trail hike? Is it feasible? Will it be feasible in terms of leaving my son? Will I have to take him with me? How feasible is it going to be financially? There are all these questions. But if you don't make the plans for it, it's never going to happen. And that's the same with absolutely anything in life. If you don't think around the issues, you're never going to find a solution, and you'll just be sat wishing that you had, or wondering who you would be if you had just jumped in and got on with it. So that's my next step, is just sitting down, saying it's okay to sit down and just think clearly about what it is that you really want to do. And I know it's all going to be hiking and about being out in nature and exploring.
I can't remember. I don't know why, but maybe people have heard this, but like a year ago, I think when I turned like 42, I was literally like, oh my God. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know why sort of getting older really sort of hit me at that age. Because I still feel young and vibrant and, you know, all of these things. But I think I'm definitely just becoming more conscious that, well, actually in 18 years, I'm going to be 60. Well, now it's 17 years. And if I just do one challenge a year, that's 17 challenges. And it's like, well, what are you going to do?
It's not enough.
It's to be honest, it's not enough. It's not enough. And also, like you said, you know, that's almost banking on me being physically fit, well, and strong and able to go off and do them. And that's not necessarily guaranteed. So it's almost like if you've got an itch, you need to get out there and scratch it, because honest to God, I do not want to wake up when I am like 82 and look back and just think, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And that's what I don't want to happen. But I love the fact that you had this experience on the West Highland Way, and I'm signed up to your email list with 10 Mile Hike, and so I got sort of one of your updates from the West Highland Way, and I know that there were certain sort of it wasn't all plain sailing, but there were certain challenges that you know that to be honest that you went through, that you experienced, but also that you learned from. I mean, would you like to share some of those, maybe some of those challenges and how you handled those situations?
One of the most difficult things for me in particular, hiking with my son, he's autistic, but one of the big ways that it affects him is he has disturbed sleep patterns. And I think that that's quite common to that disorder. But it often meant from the moment he wakes up until the moment he's actually ready to hike would be 4 hours. And we wouldn't be ready to actually get going until 1 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes, which is deeply frustrating when all you want to do is walk. But what it meant was that we would be walking into the night, into the dark, which is a wonderful experience. It can be an amazing experience, but it wasn't what I was there for. I wanted to see the scenery, and obviously you don't see that in the dark. In this particular newsletter, I think it was possibly the latest night that we'd had, along Loch Lomond, at particular times of year, you have to have a permit to camp, to wild camp, and it's in a particular place. So you have a permit, but it doesn't mean that you can camp anywhere. It's a particular location. So we had no choice but to get to this particular location. My son, being my son, did no training whatsoever. He did all the things that you should not do. You shouldn't go out hiking carrying so much weight that it's hurting your back because you're not used to carrying it. You shouldn't go out hiking on a backpacking in new shoes because it will hurt your feet. So his back was hurting, his feet were hurting, he was exhausted. So we were walking slowly. It was in the dark, he was shuffling along. The weather was changing it had been raining really hard, and it was getting harder and harder. And then we got to the signs where this camping area is, and we had to slide down a very slippery path. We got to the bottom. It was absolutely pitch black. I could just see the sort of glow of one orange tent, and the permit allows 5 tents. So I thought, okay, there's one tent there. There's going to be at least 4 other places where we can find to pitch up. But no, we couldn't. The rain was coming in. The wind was picking up. We were scrabbling around on the floor, throwing out bits of sticks under all this. Well, we were in a Scots pine forest, really. So we were surrounded by trees, which seemed to be bending in the wind. I pitched my tent finally in the heaviest rain I'd pitched my tent in for quite a long time. The wind was coming in off the lock straight onto the side of my tent. I'd then gone over to my son to help him pitch a new tent that he has. He got in and fell asleep immediately. I went back to my tent, and it was 11:30 probably at this sort of time. I crawled in, and in my head torchlight, I saw this mouse tucking into a snack that I'd left in a plastic bag, thinking it was perfectly safe. So I don't mind mice, rodents, anything like that. That's absolutely fine. But I couldn't yell out to get the mouse out of my tent. I had to, because of this other tent that was nearby. I didn't want to wake anybody at that time of night. So I'm scooting this mouse out, finally get rid of it, get in, think, right, that's it. I'm just going to, I don't know about you, Sarah, but I absolutely love the sound of rain on my tent. It was just so soporific. It just sends me off to sleep really quickly. But in this case, the wind was, I think it was 45 to 50 miles an hour gale just coming in. My tent was filling with water, and I immediately thought, this mouse has chewed through the floor of my tent. And then the wind blew in, and I saw where it had chewed through the side of the tent, but I couldn't find any holes in the bottom. And I just lay there mopping up puddles of water. And as fast as I mopped them up, these puddles grew again. And I soon realised I'd made this huge beginner error, that I pitched my tent broadside into the wind, whereas you should pitch in a strong wind like that, you should pitch the shorter end of your tent into the wind. I'd had no choice because of the space that was available. But you just have to deal with it. I couldn't get up and change the tent. I just thought, oh, just go to sleep. I just put lots of towels and things down. They were absolutely sopping wet. It was just wringing them out in the morning. But you survive. I went over to see my son. He just slept through the entire thing. But it was a trial to deal with at the time. And you're wondering, what am I doing? I can't be doing with arriving, pitching up in the pitch black anymore, dealing with rogue mice. But once you've done it, and I mean, the mouse was just funny anyway. I mean, just had the cutest little face looking up at me. But you think, this is the absolute worst. What a nightmare. You should have known this. What were you thinking? But it really doesn't matter. Things got worse, because on the last day, my tent only has one pole, and there was another storm. It wasn't raining, but the winds were just blowing in so fast. It looked like it was going to thunder and lightning. I was trying to pitch my tent quickly, and long story short, I broke the pole on my tent. So I essentially had no tent. So I slept in the vestibule of my son's tent, and you get through it, and it's funny.
It's funny now, but at the time, I'm sorry, it's like there's it's dark, it's rain, it's windy, I'm cold, I'm tired, haven't been able to see the scenery I want. There's rain coming down, there's puddles, the mice is eating my food, he's eating through my tent, which is an expensive piece of equipment. Like, it's just, I mean, the fact is, you talked about at the start about the realities of hiking. People have days like this where, and also like setting up the tent.
Yeah.
You know you're meant to set it up in a certain direction. Sometimes you don't have the space. You've literally got a bit of space. It's like, well, the tent's got to go there on the worst terrain possible. And it is what it is. And actually, like, can you control the weather? No. Can you control the fact that the mice had a little party? Like, no. Can you control the rain and the wind? It's like, no. I was going to say, I'm not a massive fan the noise of the rain on the tent or the wind.
Really?
Oh no. It like it enrages me. I have to have that. Even with like wax earplugs, it's like I don't find it therapeutic. I'm literally like, it's like doing it to annoy me so that I can't sleep. but the thing that you get to control is like, well, how do we fix this? Like, because you're out there, like you said, you know, you can't pop to the shops and get a new tent when you're in the middle of
no, exactly.
Yeah, it's like so you have to problem solve. You have to face the issue at hand, and you have to deal with it. Like because there's no choice. There is no choice. You can't just sit there and like cry. I mean, you can, and by the way, that is allowed, but you can only cry. You know, I'm going to say 30 seconds, get out your system, and then you take a deep breath, and then you're like, right, what can we do here?
Well, in that situation, I was lucky because my son, I mean, it was a bit uncomfortable and a bit cramped, but I was able to sleep in my son's vestibule. It's happened to me, I think it may have been the Ridgeway. I got to the penultimate night. I was taking my tent down the following morning. I put my foot in a rabbit hole and I fell on my tent and broke the pole. There was no shops. You can't just go and get a new pole or a new tent. And I had another night on this trail. And I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? So I made my tent into a very cozy bivy bag. And that's what it does. You learn to problem solve. I had a really comfortable, cozy night's sleep looking up at the stars. If my tent hadn't broken, I wouldn't know that I could deal with that situation, and I wouldn't have had that amazing experience of falling asleep looking at this incredible starry sky. So you get wonderful things do happen out of what seem like total disasters at the time. But yeah, and you look back and you think that was absolutely hilarious. That could only have happened to me. But then you hear that, no, actually it happens to other people and they deal with it in this way or that way. And there's an amazing community of people, hikers, who share these kinds of stories. And you just think, actually, we're all out there together, whether you're alone or not. You're learning from other people's essentially hysterical, hopefully, stories, nothing that's too disastrous.
And Stephie, where can people find more information out about you? How can they follow along with your blog, connect with you, go hiking with you? Where are you most active?
My blog is 10milehike.com with a 10. I'm also on Instagram a bit sporadically at the moment, but that's 10 Mile Hike, spelt TEN, Mile Hike. And I have recently started a YouTube channel, which again is 10 Mile Hike. And that's actually really exciting, sharing things visually with people. I'm absolutely terrible at it. But if you come over to YouTube, you can hopefully see me grow there and get better.
Like, honestly, I look back at some of my videos and I utterly cringe because I'm just like mortified. And also, I start everyone like, hey guys, hey guys. I'm like, oh, it's so annoying. And it's not even like gender neutral. And it annoys me instead of being like, hey folks, hey. So I think now I say like, hey, beautiful people.
I think that's lovely.
You're developing again, like another skill, another way to share your journey and your story. And that's going to be so, so inspiring. And Stephie, I'd love for you to have the final words of advice, final words of wisdom for other women out there who are maybe going through, you know, something similar, like whether they're turning 60 and feeling terrified or feeling in a blind panic, but they do still want to get out there and do what they can. You know, what advice would you like to share apart from, please don't say, but just do it?
I think don't be afraid to take small steps. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. If you have in your mind a seed, even a little seed of something that you would like to do, don't be afraid to make small steps towards that. Whether it's backpacking and you decide, I'm going to try sleeping in my garden with a duvet and a yoga mat. Just go for it. Just take little steps and you will grow and flourish. And I'm sure you'll absolutely love it. So yes, that would be my advice. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Take small steps that are a little bit out of your comfort zone and just keep going. Keep going. It's like walking or hiking, one step in front of the other. Just keep going.
Hey folks, how you all doing? It's Sarah here, just catching you up on what's been going on. How are we at the end of February? Where has the past 2 months gone? I do not know. The beginning of 2025 is off to a flying start, and hopefully you've been catching up with all the Tough Girl podcast episodes, which get released every Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time. Now, everything that we have talked about today with Stephanie will be in the show notes at toughgirlchallenges.com, so please do go and check it out. Now, a particular favourite episode that I have related to the West Highland Way is when we spoke to Miriam Kilpatrick, who's an ultra runner and women's health physiotherapist, who shared more about her journey of running the West Highland Way. That episode came out on March 8, 2022. It's a wonderful story about the West Highland Way. Highly recommend listening to it. So if you visit the website, toughgirlchallenges.com, you can search for that episode there, Miriam Kilpatrick, or just search West Highland Way and it will pop up. The other thing I'd like to mention is, so we've talked about videos and vlogging, and I will be sharing Stephanie's YouTube channel. Hopefully you've also subscribed to my YouTube channel, which would be amazing. I have walked the West Highland Way previously, and there are vlogs on there that you can watch. I am still walking the Tiara Trail or the vlogs are still coming out from the Tiara Trail. Almost finished. It was a really long trip the more I think about it, because the vlogs have been coming out since the beginning of November. So November 2024, we're in February 2025, and we've still got a couple more episodes to go. So this is the final push, and one of my favourite episodes is coming out at the very beginning of March. It's through Longwood Forest, a 12-hour epic through the mud to reach the other side. Quite an amusing watch. I think you'll enjoy watching it. But we are coming to the end of the 3,000-kilometre journey on the Tiara Trail. I haven't managed to edit the Southwest Coast Path vlogs yet, but I really want to get them to come out in April. The Salt Path movie is coming out. I believe it's on like the 25th of April, so I want to sort of coincide it with that movie. So you've probably read the book, The Salt Path, Walking the Southwest Coast Path, and I'll be sharing more of my experience from the Southwest Coast Path as well in vlog format when I get round to editing them. It will happen. But I hope things are well with you. I hope you're training for your next adventure, your next challenge. I hope you're getting outside. I hope you're getting daylight in your eyes. I hope you're breathing in fresh air. You're going for walks in the mountains or along the coast. You're going out for little runs, little jogs, or you're training super hard for your for your next challenge and you're listening to lots of episodes of the Tough Girl podcast, it's always great to hear what you've been up to. So please do, send me a DM on Instagram at Tough Girl Challenges. Keep me updated with your training and preparation and how it is all going. If I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. Send me an email, sarah@toughgirlchallenges.com. If you'd like to support the work that I do, you can become a patron. Visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. And you can sign up as a monthly patron or an annual patron, and you can help to pay it forward and help more women discover the Tough Girl Podcast, more women get inspired by these incredible stories that women are sharing about their love and passion for the outdoors, for taking on physical challenges. It really does make a massive difference. If you are on social media, I'd love for you to use your voice, take a screenshot, tag me in it, share it, email your friends, show friends how to listen to the podcast. It really does make a difference. If you haven't left a review, I'd love for you to, God, what a to-do list I'm giving you. Have you written a review? Have you signed up as a patron? Have you subscribed? Lots of action points there. To be honest, I'm sure you've already done all of those things. But I hope you're well. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're keeping positive. And all that's left for me to say is, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, give it your all, give it 110%, get after it, go for it, believe in yourself because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.